looked at a successful woman and wondered, how did she do that? How does she manage all the things? How does she build her company and look great and have a great family, a great marriage, all the things? I know I have. I have certainly looked at some women and gone, man, how does she do it all? Because it's a lot, isn't it? I mean, if you're doing anything, if you've got a career, your family, there's just a lot that happens and has to happen in everyday life. And oftentimes you look at other people and go, how does she do it? If that has been your question, like it has been mine, stick around for this episode. Welcome to Legacy Her Way. This is the podcast where we explore how women define and build legacy on their own terms. And we speak in real life. This is about our real lives. I'm not sugarcoating things, and the guests are not sugarcoating things. I'm your host, Tanya Hendricks, and legacy isn't just about what we leave behind someday. It's about the choices we're making right now, who we're building for, what we're building and preserving, and how we create peace of mind and margin along the way. Today's conversation is a solo episode, and I will be speaking about that question I mentioned, like, how does she do it all? Because I know as I'm building a business, I keep asking myself, how do I do it all? So whether you're listening today while you're driving, you're folding laundry, you're taking a quiet moment for yourself, often listen to podcasts while I'm doing my makeup and hair in the morning and in the car. I hope you hear something from this episode that reflects your own journey, or you can go, that's how she does it. So let's go ahead and get started. Now, I have in the last several months been questioning, how do I do this all? I've been an attorney for 24 and a half years at the time of this recording. I've been building my law firm since August of 23, and it's been just like a exponential growth, which has been wonderful, and I've loved that part of it. It's been great, and when I started my law firm, it was interesting because when I first started my law firm, I talked to some people, surrounded myself with people who want to build million-dollar businesses, law firms, multi-million-dollar businesses, law firms, and have an empire. And I was like, I'm building an empire. Me being naive, even though when I started my law firm, I was 47, I think, 47-ish. Is when I started my law firm. So I wasn't really naive as practicing law, but in building a business and what it takes to scale and build the business. And so though my heart was to help families, my heart is to help people build their legacies, to protect their families, I also wanted to build an empire because I want, like a lot of women, I want to build generational wealth. A lot of women that I have heard speak, I've talked to friends and people in my life, a lot of women, and I can only speak from our experience, but many of us want to build wealth, not so we can just go buy the best cars so that we can, I'm not going to say we don't want to buy the nice Hermes bags or whatever, because man, I could spend a fortune on purses and shoes, but we won't go there. But we were trying to build wealth for our families, to take care of our families, to provide some comfort for our families, to make sure they're provided for, and again, for that generational wealth, because we want to take care of our children, our grandchildren, our great-grandchildren. We want to provide a life that maybe we were never provided as children, or we want to make it better, even if we did have some comfort in our finances as children. Maybe we want to be sure that we're providing that for our children, our grandchildren. So that's why we're building wealth. And that's certainly why I am. I want to provide that. I want to provide a safety net financially for our family and provide for our son, any children he may have, and their grandchildren. So I have a lot of reasons to want to build wealth. So that's why I was focusing on building an empire. I am 2.5 years into my law practice, into my small business, and I can tell you it takes a dadgum lot of energy to build a business, even to scale to 6 figures. So I'm reevaluating, like, Do I really want to go to that empire status? Do I really want to get there? And trying to take a realistic look at what I want to build. What am I building? How much does it take? How much money does it take to get to where I want to be, which is to have that comfort level financially for the family and build generational wealth for children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, and so forth. So in thinking through all that, over the last several months, now I'm recording this in February 2026, over the last several months, I have been diving into margin. And I've never liked the term balance. I've never liked that term. I just don't think it's reflective of what our life can be. I mean, I don't think we can find balance. We have too many things that we're juggling: careers, families, marriages. And so I'm trying to find that margin. And one of our guests on the podcast, you're going to hear from her, Christy Dunn. When I was speaking with her about this, she said that she uses the term harmony. And I was like, oh, that's the perfect word, because it's not necessarily even margin. It's finding harmony so that when we're building one thing, we're not jeopardizing the other. As I'm building this empire for my family, I don't want to lose my family. And I had this tug of war that as I'm spending more and more hours building the business, more and more hours helping my clients, whether it's the estate planning side or the trademarks, I'm trying to help them protect their families and do what's best for their families and businesses. I can't jeopardize my own family. I can't jeopardize my own marriage. And that's where I just been struggling and trying to find that harmony. So as we go through the season 3 of Legacy Her Way, I'm going to be sharing that journey so that we can go on that together. Because one of the things that is a recurring theme, whether it's in season 1, season 2, or even the episode that you just heard from Dr. Jenny Robinson, where she talks about not the balance, but the harmony of it all. Like, how did she have a career, a family, enter public service, and do all the things that she has to do on a daily basis? How did she do it? And I was very interested in her answer and very interested in what she said. And it struck a chord with me about the need for finding that harmony, but also being intentional. Should be intentional about finding that harmony or margin in your life. And so one of the reasons I like the term harmony, I'm going to read you the definition from Webster's. So those of us that are of a certain age, we used Webster's dictionaries, like the physical Webster's dictionary in school. Some of you remember those actual dictionaries and probably had one on your shelf. I know I did. So I always, even though there's a plethora of websites with definitions now, I still go back to Merriam-Webster. Maybe you do too. So Webster says the definition of harmony is a pleasing arrangement of parts, agreement, accord, internal calm, tuneful sound. Pleasing arrangement of parts, agreement, accord, internal calm, tuneful sound. That is what I want anyway. I don't know about you, but that's what I want. I want that pleasing arrangement that will give me that internal calm and a tuneful sound for my life to live to, so that I'm not concerned about sacrificing my marriage for my business. So that I'm not, because I've heard that. I've listened to podcasts all the time, and I've listened to one recently where the person had interviewed a lot of billionaires and founders of like the big companies, like huge companies. And as he was talking, one of the things he talked about was a lot of these founders who built these huge companies, their marriages were in shambles at some point. Many of them got divorced. Some of them just really struggled. I don't want that. And I think for many women, we don't want that. I mean, again, I can't speak for everyone, but I know for the ones I've talked to and met with, that's the goal is to provide for family, not to tear the family apart. And so I have to be very intentional about how I'm dividing my time, how I'm spending my time, and making my time count. We're only provided 24 hours in a day. And we're for some of that, we have to sleep. And that's one of the things that I have struggled with, is making sure I get sleep, because that is essential for our bodies to be healthy. And you probably heard the season 2 final episode, I talked about I turned 50 in December 2025, and I'm making my 50th year about health and being healthy. And part of that is getting sleep. And that is something that I've really got to focus on, in addition to the exercise, in addition to the eating right. This episode of Legacy Her Way is sponsored by Huntsville Estate Planning Lawyer, helping you protect your family and what you're building and preserve the legacy you are creating. Your family and your life's work deserves more than hope. It deserves a plan. Contact Huntsville Estate Planning Lawyer today to make your plan. And so as I'm trying to be intentional about my health and wellness, I have to be intentional about my time with my spouse and family. And I have to be intentional about connections, my friendships, my relationships. There are people I haven't talked to in months who live 10 miles down the road from me. And we're friends. And we've been friends for years. But we just don't talk because they've got a busy schedule. I've got a busy schedule. Just about every waking moment of the day, I'm thinking about business. I'm doing business. I'm helping clients. I'm preparing their documents. And it's all I can do to block that out for a period of time to spend and focus on my spouse or go spend time with my mom. And so I want to make this all work. I want it to harmonize. I want there to be this tuneful sound in my life and this calm that's internal. And that's what I'm striving for. And I think others are too. And if this does not resonate with you and you have it all figured out, please, please, please let me know how you did it. I would love to hear from you because I'm trying to learn. Because when I interviewed Dr. Robinson and asked her this question, I was very interested in what she said. And one of the things was being intentional about time. And she gets up in the morning, she has her morning routine. Maybe the morning is not your time, but it happens to be for me. And I have my morning routine that I follow every day. And I think from what I've heard from a lot of successful women and men too, any successful entrepreneur, they have a morning routine and you conquer your mornings. But some people, it should be nighttime. Some people think Steve Jobs did best at night. When he was first starting to work in computers, he was like, I'm only working at night. And so everybody's different, but just find what's best for you and get that figured out and figure out what that routine is and conquer that period of time. For me, it's morning. When I can conquer my morning, it gives me a great start to the day. And so as I am figuring out how to harmonize everything, one of the things I did was pull a book from my time in seminary, which is Margin, and it's by Richard Swenson. It's dated. It doesn't even mention social media. And when you read through the book, you realize there were a lot of places that he could mention social media because social media is such a distraction, and it does really dilute our image of reality and what it can be. But I would certainly encourage reading this. And I'll put a link in the show notes to this book so that you can purchase it. And then, and I will give a disclaimer that if you click on that, I am an affiliate for Amazon. But it is a great book for you to start reading through and going, okay, I recognize this as an issue. This is how I need to work on it. And these are some things to do. I once knew a woman who, and this is kind of this whole social media world where we look at people from a distance and think they have it all together. I once knew a woman who, she did an awful lot. It was a tremendous amount of stuff, and she was successful. And I remember people were asking her, and she commented on how people ask her, how does she do it all? And she came out with a planner and different things, but to make it all look like she just juggled it all. Like she just did everything herself, juggled it all. But let me pull the curtain back on that. And I think this is so true for a lot of people. When you see their lives on social media, you see things from a distance. You don't always know what's happening in the background. You don't know what's happening behind the curtain. You don't know what's happening behind closed doors. And I can't speak to every single very successful person out there, But for this person, I can say she didn't build it herself. She was the one doing a lot of social media. She was doing those things, but she had a personal assistant. She had a chef. She had people who would go get her dry cleaning. She had people that would take care of her animals. She had people that did a lot of things, took it off her plate. And I don't begrudge her of that at all. I'm like, as I'm sitting here right now, I'm going, dang, I wish I could do all that. I wish I could afford all those people to just do those things. I need a personal assistant. Just last week, I was thinking, I need a personal assistant at this point, just to do some of the little things that it's just draining of my time. So I don't begrudge anyone of having those people or having anyone to help them out. Kudos. I applaud you for being there. I applaud you for doing that. I just want to be real. I just want you as the listener to know that some of those people out there, they're doing it because they have those things. And you see a lot of the celebrities, they have nannies. They have people who are raising their children for them. They have people who are taking care of their kids. I don't know for every single one. I don't know what's going on behind closed doors. But I don't want you to think that they're doing 100% of the work. I can't do everything I do without the support of my spouse. He is phenomenal. He has taken on so much around the house with cooking and laundry, and I do those things as well too, but he has really just done a phenomenal job of supporting me and helping do those extra things, do those other things. And he does probably 95 to 99% of the stuff around the house because I'm working so much, I'm building so much, and spending so much time with the firm and client matters. And so I can't do this without his support. I can't do what I do in my office without my office staff. They have just really kind of taken up and ran with things. So I'm going to be transparent about that. If I ever hire a personal assistant, I'll tell you, because I don't want you to think that I'm out here doing every single thing by myself. I have a company, Mac Global Promotions, who does my social media. Most of my social media posts for my firm is through Mac Global Promotions. They do, again, most of it. I'll do my own lives and a few videos here and there, but they do most of it. So I don't want you to think that I'm still doing all those things. When I first started my firm, I did those things. I did everything for the first year or so. And then when I was able to bring on different people and help with things, I did. So as you're looking at people and going, how do they do it? Some people have help, some people don't. But I would venture to say most of them have some help somewhere along the way, because there's no way one person can do every single thing. And I don't want you to think that one person does every single thing that goes into building a business, that goes into building an empire. So I encourage you, as you're listening today, if you haven't listened to Dr. Robinson's podcast, go back and listen to it. And maybe some others that from season 1 and season 2 who speak about having that margin in their lives, who speak about being able to say no. And that's one of the things that Dr. Robinson said. That's multiple guests through seasons 1 and through seasons 2 have said, no, you have to learn to say no. Sometimes saying no is easy. I don't ever want to get close to that. So no. Other times it's hard. You may have to decide between this one good thing or this better thing, which deserves your time, attention, money. Because when you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else. When you're saying yes to this activity, maybe you're saying no to spending time with your spouse or your child. Or maybe you're saying no to something else that's better. As a person of faith, there have been times I've had to decide, am I saying yes to this thing? It's a good thing. Maybe it was the time I was teaching some Bible studies and I was asked to teach another Bible study, but I would have to say no to this other thing that was even better. So you have to always figure out what's better, what's best. And if you're a person of faith, what's God calling you to do? Are you meeting God where He is? Or are you asking God to come along? So saying no is something that is absolutely necessary as you are trying to juggle everything and not just juggle everything, but get to that harmony in your life. because you're probably like me, you need some peace, you need some calm, you need that internal calm. So I encourage you to, one, pick up the book, Margin. If you're watching this on YouTube, you see all the little tabbies where I've got tabs, because I'll be referencing this throughout the season. There's so many little golden nuggets in here that I'm going to be referencing it quite a bit. And I encourage you to just start thinking through where you can find margin, where you can find harmony as I almost said balancing. It's so ingrained in our language today that I almost said balance, and I hate that word. How do you find that margin? How do you find that harmony? And I encourage you and hope that you can find that you start searching for it. And if you want to follow along with me this season as I'm searching for it and trying to be intentional about putting things in my life where I can find that harmony, where I can find the margin in my life. If this episode spoke to you in any way, drop a note. I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to hear the comments. I'd like to hear what your idea of harmony is, how you are finding that margin in your life, how you're being intentional with finding that margin. Also, be sure that you subscribe to Legacy Her Way so you don't miss an episode. You don't want to miss what's next, because there are going to be some excellent interviews coming up. If you haven't listened to Dr. Robinson's interview, please go back and listen to it. You don't want to miss out on that. So thank you for joining me on this episode of Legacy Her Way. Again, please subscribe and leave us a comment, leave us a note, what you think about what you think about this episode, what you think about the podcast, and maybe this is something you want to share with someone. All right, I will see you in the next conversation. Bye.